Okay, let me just put this down a bit. See if that's better. It's a hell of an early in the morning to be doing this. So, where am I? Where am I? In Birmingham, of all places, we're outside the UK Reform Conference, hopefully catching up with people down here and finding out their political opinion. Obviously, Reform has gone from strength to strength. We're at the SNP conference, and now we're at the UK Reforms conference. I don't think we'll be able to go to Labour or the Conservative conference, unfortunately, just now, but we are hopefully going to get as much of this and speak to some interesting people down here. I think there's a lot of individuals coming down, and we are hopefully going to get interviews on the back of the other press and other significant YouTubers, political YouTubers, I think, that are going to be down here as well. So it's still early in the morning, it's not really started. And hopefully we will speak to maybe even the elected MPs. I don't know who's speaking today, I've not got that itinerary for today. Hopefully we'll get to speak to the various new MPs and find out what the facts are. I listened to what they had said for Scotland, and they said that they want to, I think, abolish the Scottish Parliament, which I'm not sure is a winning solution. The speeches yesterday about populism and what was actually happening, other things that were actually happening with globalism and the World Economic Forum and the Council on Foreign Relations, and all of that was all good stuff. The WHO and the globalist agenda was all good stuff. But as a libertarian liberal, you would want, or even as a libertarian, you would want commitments to freedom of speech. You would want commitments to empowering the individual, not changing the centralised state from the EU to Westminster and to take the powers back from Scotland. I don't think that is a winning strategy. There is a demographic within Scotland who want to abolish the Scottish Parliament, but I don't think that's a large demographic, and I think that's largely because of the political leanings of the individuals within the Scottish Parliament. But I would suggest that the point of principle is to change I'm not talking about changing SNP to Labour, because that's not a policy change. To change it in a different manner, and maybe even to increase the powers at the Scottish parliamentary level. That might come out in another political party, or to have a Devo Max referendum. So there might be the SNP for independence. That's not going to happen anytime soon. A Devo Max and increasing the powers at the Scottish level, or you've got UK Reform, who apparently want to wants to take all the powers and delete both the Welsh Parliament and the Scottish Parliament and return all the powers to Westminster. And that in Scotland is a minoritarian point of view. I don't think the majority of people would be in favour of the abolition now of the Scottish Parliament. I would suggest that a significant proportion would go for remaining in the UK, but actually increasing the powers over the economy, things like that, financial services and other aspects. So that's certainly something interesting. We'll maybe hopefully get some people actually listening to their point of view and what the logic is behind that. As I said, there is a proportion of people in Scotland who want to abolish the Scottish Parliament. I don't think that's a sizable minority. But we'll see if I'm proven right. The rest of the speeches I saw yesterday was great, but it's not a libertarian stance. It's not a we believe in free speech, unless it's threatening speech, not hate speech. You've got to be, and if you have free speech, you've got to be what is described as hateful. This might just be a contrarian point of view, political point of view, or a religious point of view. But you must have the right to actually say that if you're a libertarian and you believe in freedom of speech. I, I don't think the Reform UK are holding libertarian points of view. I don't think they're holding a freedom of speech stance just now. So that's something of interest that we can discuss as well. So these are varying points that I don't know who's advising them just now on Scotland and on the run up to the Scottish election. One, they're going to have to get a branch structure in Scotland, a constituency branch structure in Scotland. And two, they're going to have to be able to get a contract or a manifesto that is going to be maximise the applicability of that contract or manifesto to the people of Scotland. And just saying, yeah, we're going to abolish the Scottish Parliament and we're going to return all the powers to Westminster. I don't think it's going to be, I'm talking about progressive in the actual progressive sense, not progressive in the neo-Marxist sense. That's going to be a progressive stance for Scotland, and I don't think it's going to be one that will be politically welcome. Hopefully, we'll be able to talk to the people that are advising in here with regards to this stance by Reform UK just now, and hopefully they'll be able to justify this position, because I think if you put do you want to abolish Scottish Parliament to the Scottish people, they're going to say probably not. Do you want to change who's representing you in the Scottish Parliament? But you need to go out and vote for something else. But that might not be the penultimate policy position for winning votes. I think the actual penultimate policy position in the meantime would be a Devo Max referendum, which I think the Devo Max would win it, which means that more powers would come to the for ghosting. For ghosting, I don't know what that means. Lisa, give us a bit more details there. I don't know if that policy position is. Let me just check this. Volumes up. That policy position will maximise the votes that Reform would require, regardless of that. Reform are sitting and potentially going to become the third largest. You have 5 people watching, only me commenting. Yeah, I know. I know, Lisa, I know. 5 people, yeah, I know. The channel's been suppressed. I don't know if you know that or not. The channel is up to 7 now. The channel's been suppressed by YouTube. So that's why it's got minimal coverage. I'm surprised you got on it yourself. So, and I don't know if that's the maximum amount of people who are going to vote for a political position is going to be for an abolition of whether it be the Welsh or the Scottish Parliament. I would suggest in both cases, from a policy point of view, increased powers. As a libertarian liberal, I would prefer increased empowerment of the individual, reduced taxation, increased power of the individual, not the state. That's the ultimate policy position. So, for myself, from my own political stance, having said that, then it would be the empowerment of the local state or the nation state, which would be Westminster. Michael Haver has also said that he would want he wants an English Parliament. He feels that the constitutional distribution of devolved governance with England, with Scotland and Wales having a Parliament, that England should have one as well. I would just suggest, if that was going to happen, and if the English people found that they were, although the English are the majority in the UK, that if they felt that they would want something particular to English policy, I would suggest that rather than actually setting up a whole new parliament, that Westminster was only used in certain circumstances for English policy. And I would suggest that that was the ultimate, the penultimate um, position or situation that would benefit people who want an English Parliament. That just if it was only affecting England or English policy, then other people from Wales and Scotland, MPs wouldn't vote on English policy, and that would make things a lot easier and not require the amount of money that would cost to actually set up another parliament in London or wherever it is else in England. So that would be a way for Michael Haver's position that if he wants an English Parliament, it should just be Westminster and the MPs rather than actually spending money on another layer of governance. I would suggest in England that you've already got a Parliament there, and you would just say, well, on policy, you would have to be flexible on that because there might be policy overlap for the rest of the UK. But it would be better if it was only affecting England, the Scottish and Welsh MPs didn't vote on it, and that would be the ultimate way of squaring that circle. Because obviously, if there's a requirement in England for an English Parliament, then that would be the simplest way of doing it without bringing in another set of governments, another Parliament, and that would be probably the easiest way of facilitating that whole situation. Where if the English felt left out by just not being able to vote on English policy that only affects England, and Scottish or Welsh MPs voting on that as well, that would probably be the best way for the English to actually have their own representation rather than actually setting up another layer of governance. So this is kicking off, I think, at 10 o'clock. Hopefully we're not going to get any problems and everything's going to be tickety boo actually going in here. We should find out if we can get some interviews. I'll try and break this up and not actually make it just one big long podcast, and break it up into varying podcasts and varying interviews as well. And hopefully that'll make it more interesting. Baby Gorillas,